We tend to think of intelligence as this fixed number, right? Something you're just born with. But what if that's completely wrong? What if the biggest threat to your brain power isn't some IQ score, but the tiny, seemingly harmless habits you repeat every single day?
This right here, this is the brutal truth we're digging into. There are certain patterns that we all fall into, and they aren't just holding us back. Psychologists are telling us they are actively rewiring our minds for the worse.
So let's just ask it straight up. Are your daily habits holding you back? Because some of the most common things we do are little by little rewiring our brains to keep us stuck, to make us less adaptable, and ultimately less intelligent.
And that's what this is all about. We're not talking about some score on a test. We're talking about the intelligence you actually control, the kind that shows up in the little choices you make day in and day out.
Okay, so let's start with a group of habits I like to call thinking traps. These are those little mental shortcuts that feel super efficient, But in the long run, they're just draining your mental energy and stopping you from actually thinking clearly.
So our first thinking trap is a classic, and come on, we've all been guilty of this one at some point. It's magical thinking.
It seems so harmless, right? You wear your lucky socks, you ace the exam, but what's really happening there? You're basically outsourcing your logic to a superstition. You're connecting a totally random coincidence to a direct cause, and by doing that, you're training your brain to skip the real work of problem solving. It keeps you from asking the question that actually matters. Wait, did I study hard enough?
All right, next up is a habit that is just everywhere. It's that kind of confidence that has absolutely no substance to back it up. It's so common, it even has a name, the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is that psychological glitch that can convince us we're experts when, really, we're complete novices. The original study was actually inspired by a bank robber who covered his face in lemon juice because he thought it would make him invisible to security cameras. He was absolutely floored when he got caught. He literally didn't know enough to realize how little he knew. And we've all seen this in action, haven't we? It's the person in the room who's talking the loudest, explaining something they clearly don't get. But they're not lying. They genuinely don't have the self-awareness to see their own blind spots. Real intelligence is the total opposite. It's having the courage, the humility to just say, you know what? I don't know. Can you explain that to me?
Okay, our third habit is sneaky. It feels responsible, but really it's just a form of mental laziness.
And that's blindly following the rules. I mean, think about someone building furniture who keeps following the manual even when the parts clearly don't fit. They're not being diligent. They're switching off their critical thinking because, well, it's just easier than trying to adapt. And the cost here is huge. You train your brain to be completely helpless the second a plan goes off the rails. And that leads us perfectly into our fourth habit, which is kind of the close cousin of blindly following rules: rigid thinking. Yeah, you can really see the difference here. A rigid mind sees changing an opinion as a sign of weakness. It defaults to that classic line, "That's not how we do things around here." But an intelligent mind, it gets that adapting to new information isn't weakness, it's evolution. It's the very definition of learning. Okay, let's move on to our second category of habits: mental avoidance. These are all the ways we actively, run away from the hard work of deep thinking. Our next habit is a total hallmark of modern life, isn't it? That desperate, constant need for noise. I mean, we all know someone who totally panics if there isn't music playing or a TV on in the background. Psychologically, this is a huge sign that you're actively avoiding your own thoughts. An intelligent mind doesn't just put up with silence, it uses it. That quiet time is where your brain finally gets to connect ideas and have those big breakthroughs. If you can't sit still without a distraction, you're literally robbing yourself of your best ideas. Now, for a habit that our culture actually celebrates as a sign of being a hard worker, but it's one of the most destructive things you can possibly do to your brain: chronic sleep neglect. Seriously, let that one sink in for a second. You might brag about running on 4 hours of sleep, but the science is crystal clear. Your memory, your attention, your decision-making, it's all completely wrecked. You're not a hero for doing that. You're operating with a cognitive impairment that's basically the same as being drunk. Smart people don't treat sleep like a luxury. They guard it because they know it's their most critical tool. And now for the siren song of the modern world: instant gratification. Every single time you kill boredom by scrolling through social media, you're training your brain to seek the easiest, quickest reward. You're basically killing your patience.
True intelligence requires deep focus and perseverance, but instant gratification trains your brain for the exact opposite. I mean, the famous marshmallow test proved this decades ago. The ability to delay gratification is one of the most powerful predictors of future success.
And our final habit, well, this one might just be the most insidious of all. It's blindly following trends.
When your whole personality shifts with every new social media trend, that isn't creativity, it's emptiness. It's a herd mentality. You're doing it because you want to feel safe and accepted. But real intelligence requires independent thought. It means building your own internal compass, not just borrowing one from the crowd. And the cost is this profound sense of emptiness, because you never stop to ask yourself that fundamental question. Do I actually believe this, or am I just following along?
So, where does all this leave us? Well, the good news, the really good news, is that your intelligence is not some fixed number you're stuck with. It is a direct reflection of your choices. And that means you have the power to rewire your own brain.
And the path forward is actually pretty simple. It's really a three-step process. First, awareness. Just start to notice when you're doing these things. Second, choice. You have to own the fact that these are learned habits, not permanent parts of who you are. And third, action. You just have to make the conscious decision right in that moment to do something different, to break the loop.
And that brings us to the final and honestly the most important question. As you are listening, which one of these habits hit a little too close to home? Don't shy away from that feeling. Recognizing the habit in yourself isn't a failure. It's the first and most powerful step you can take to change it.